Well, hey everybody. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to another edition of Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the third day of May 2021. Well, I hope everybody had a good weekend. We were planting things. We planted our blueberries out in the dome, and we've been planting onions and peas and all kinds of stuff. So we had a quite busy weekend. And we're not finished, of course. You know, my husband's talking about, gee, maybe we should plant some baby bok choy. That would be great. We haven't done that in a while. Once you get the two of us started with that, I don't know, we just don't stop. It's like, oh, we could take that ground up and put something there. It's like, we have a new bed in the front yard this year, so you know, we're always expanding things. It's nuts. It's just nuts. It's like, just be happy with what you have, right? No. Anyway, the rune for today is Fehu. And Fehu is the first rune of the Elder Futhark. It's kind of looks like part of the back end of an arrow, the feathery part of an arrow, doesn't it? But it means cattle and wealth, and it's wealth that's movable. But it's also known in witchcraft as a sending rune. So you can use it to cast your intention once you gather everything together, get it all focused, get the energy all building. And then you can chant Fehu to cast if you want to. Or not, but you can do that. It's a good casting word to use. So anyway, it's got the energy for it. Oh, well, looks like we've got Fortuna Major for our geomancy rune for today. Let's see if I can find it. Oh, is that it? Yep. This is greater fortune. So if we're talking the cattle or wealth rune, right? You know, it's going to align pretty well with greater fortune. We'll see what our greater fortune is. You know, is it money? Is it possessions? Or is it something else? Is it really found in our relationships with other people and how we manage all of that? So, but we'll have to see. We'll see what the cards have to say about that. But that's an interesting way to start off a Monday, isn't it? It's like, oh yes, the promise of greater fortune. It's like, oh wow, a windfall. Maybe not. Maybe it's something else. I just think our greater understanding of who we are to one another, I think that's our greatest fortune personally. But maybe this will have a little more of a, you know, maybe you get a different job or something, or maybe you get a raise or something today. I mean, it could be something as simple as that. Or casting the intention to create greater fortune, perhaps. So we'll see. Let's see what the cards have to say. I shuffled a little bit before I got started, so I won't have to shuffle as much here. So if this is your first time here, welcome. I'm so glad you are here, and I'd love you to click subscribe and come back. That'd be cool. We do this Monday and Thursday, and we've been connecting them, and just to see if Thursday's reading is a continuation or if we start something new. And of late, since I started doing this, there's only really been one time where, you know, the reading shifted. But I think the readings, the two readings the week before merged into the one on Monday, and then Thursday we turned a corner. Instead of doing that on Monday, we did it on Thursday. So I think that was the flow of energy that time. But, you know, it's just nice I was doing it 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday, but it just didn't give us enough time for some continuity between them all. So, and I just thought that I like that sort of thing. So I really think that I'm glad that I'm doing it this way now instead of the other. I need to bend my cards back here a little bit. They're too bendy today. And you'll notice, if you've been here for a while, you'll notice that I don't do reversals. I just include that idea. In other words, I look at things from a totalitarian perspective, a total perspective, a unified perspective. So you have like, so for example, when you're looking at polarity, you're not looking at either masculine or feminine. You're looking at the concept of polarity with all of the shades of gray within. And so that's kind of how I look at tarot. So also the runes, I don't do reversals on that either. I just incorporate the whole concept into the rune or the tarot card itself. So that's why I don't do that. Not everyone does, you know. Not everyone does. See, now I had the Four of Wands upside down. I also had the Seven of Cups upside down, but we're not going to read it that way. We're going to turn it around. So we have the Ace of Swords, the Four of Wands, and the Seven of Cups. So 7 and 4 is 11. Ace is 1, so that's 12. So we have a 3 overall energy here, overall numerology for that. And there we're looking at the 3 is an interesting number. We find it within our awareness, within our history, within our sacred geometry. We find it everywhere. And it's basically a self-expression number. It can be optimism, imagination, friendliness. It can have to do with communication, interaction. But again, that's self-expression, isn't it? Mind, body, spirit balance is another. The triplicities. We see that evidenced in past, present, future. Maiden, mother, crone. Again, mind, body, spirit. We see this in our lives all of the time. The concept of that was then, this is now, this is the future. You know, we have that sense about things. I suspect that I believe that the 4 though is related is related more so to the concept of time than 3 is, but it's certainly a building block to that concept of thinking in terms of again, that was then, this is now, and that's the future. So we see a flow, we see a change, if you will, that happens with that whole energy. So, and again, if you think about it that way, you know, there could be a change again regarding how we see our greater fortune or greater fortune coming into our lives. Is it that everyone in our family has now had both vaccines, or at least the one, if you get the Johnson & Johnson one, are we all vaccinated now in the family, and now we can plan a gathering? There's your greater fortune, right? So this can be looked at, the greater fortune part of it, the Fortuna Major, can be looked at in a variety of ways. And I suggest that we do that. Let's not get it all so narrow that it has to do with money, because it may not. Now, here we have, so let's take a look at the cards. Here we have the Ace of Swords. We see a hand reaching out from the clouds. The clouds are dark. So the cloud of mystery. Your aces are said to contain all of the elements of that particular suit in one card. It's the beginning of all of it. It's the genesis of new thought here with swords. Swords is the air element, so it's intellect again. Aligns well with the 3 energy. It's a mercurial number. So is swords. It's mercurial. Mercury governs. Here you see at the tip of the sword there, you see the crown. Now, because it's pointing upward, it's pointing towards spirit, and that's what the crown is representing. It's representing the energy of the creator. And you see the garlands hanging there suggesting some victory out of the chute, basically. And so we start out in balance, in intellectual balance. We are reasonable, we are thoughtful, we are aware, we are not judgmental. We let our ideas flow from spirit. And then, of course, as life continues, that all, goes sideways and, all of that. So anyway, as you know, but when we look at the Ace of Swords, we're looking at the beginning of new ideas, brilliance, clarity, cutting through illusion, balance, triumph. You see the idea of triumph with the garland and the crown there. But don't think of it in terms of earthly kingship. Don't think of it that way. This is actually creator stuff right there when we see that crown. It's not talking about the crown of the king, or that the king is now successful or something like that. That's not what that is. So, at least not in my opinion. Here we have the Four of Wands next. And I love this card. This is such an interesting card. We have 2 people coming together, clearly getting married. You see them back there behind that line of demarcation. You'll see this line in not every single tarot card, but in a few of them. And to me, it sort of indicates that was then, this is now, or that was then, this is our future. There's some kind of line of demarcation between experiences, in other words. But here you can see that the garlands are indeed crossed up at the top. In balanced energy exchange with one another. You see the triplicities here with the 3 bouquets held high. You see the same with the bridge over here, the bridge to new experiences here in the castle. You see their friends over here that are part of the wedding party. And they're heading off in the direction of their new life together, aren't they? They're doing it here, but look at this. 2 and 2 is 4, right? Well, here, if you look here, we come into balanced polarity with each individual, don't we? In order to then come into balanced energy exchange with each other. So instead of rushing off to get married right away without any life experience, maybe you've gotten some life experience and now you're coming together with intention in Fehu to have a little bit greater fortune because of the relationship that you're and see, I told you this could be about relationships, and I think I'm right. This is about how we come into balanced energy exchange with others, getting the polarity balanced within so that ego is not overshadowing spirit. You see, the projective side of self is not overshadowing the receptive side of self. What we have societally, worldwide, is patriarchy, which shows you that this balanced energy exchange is not in play. But now that we have the return of the goddess, the idea of the ascension is factored into that as well. We're seeing the rise of the feminine divine and having that influence us instead of simply this out of control male patriarchal energy that has been plaguing us and harming us for so long. All right. We see a shift just from the last, if you want to call it an administration or a crime spree. I don't know. Personally, I call it a crime spree. But between that and what we have now, you, in a sense, see the return of the divine feminine, the return of harmony, the return of respect for all. Whereas the last one, and then the one party that seems to want to still hang on to this person, right? They're not involved in the shared experience of all of us. They're there to promote only the concerns of the ultra and uber wealthy, of which the majority of these people are not part of that group, but they cleave unto them, right? And they sit prostrate at their feet to make sure that those people stay in control and as rich as possible, while the rest of us in the middle class go away, right? Well, now we have an administration that seeks to bring that back. So you see a shift right there in terms of polarity between the out of control ego versus doing things from the standpoint of spirit. So going forward, we should see some shift in that regard. And hopefully those on the wrong side of the issue can figure out to get on the right side of it, right? That's how this works. And so here, whether we're talking, I think what we're talking about with the runes and our greater fortune is getting this stuff into balance and getting a more realistic experience where we remember who we are as spirit, we remember who we are to one another. Now, we can keep our head in the clouds with the 7 here, and that's one way to look at it. I tend to not look at it that way, but you can, and I will. It depends on the cards. And maybe that's how we need to look at it with the card of intellect, all things intellectual coming out here. Shift in perception, in other words. But here, what you see are cups, 7 cups in the clouds. And the guy's just really focused on them. And either he is so enamored with fantasy that he can't focus on, because you see he's in dark visage there, isn't he? You can't see really anything about him. And so this is his dream state. Does he live there all the time? Is he so focused on what he can have that he can't see the forest for the trees? And I think that may be what this is. If we're trying to understand who we are to one another and we're seeing ourselves as divided, well, that's living here. That's living in fantasy. There's a level of fantasy going on right now in not just our country, but in our world with the conspiracy group that's in play. And all of the ones that seem to want to, hang with all of this. They just all seem to be coming together, and then they all seem to be fighting between one another. Now that whatever it is they thought was going to happen isn't going to happen. It never was. It was a con. All right? And these folks have fallen victim to it. So you need to step back with the 7 and get a better perspective. Maybe with the 1, the ace. So that you can then come into balanced energy exchange with others so that you gain your fortune. You cast your intention for a greater fortune. Again, having that harmony, being able to move in unison. Nobody's got to worry about anybody, getting off track. I'm in a situation like that right now where people are off track and it's affecting everyone else. And so we've had to assert ourselves to get the truth out, basically, and say, well, wait a minute. No. You guys can't do that. All right. Well, the same things happened in the country, right? Let's do another card just for the heck of it. The same things happened in the country where you've got a lot of people that need for a particular lie to be believed, but it's only to keep, again, certain people in power, that didn't win. Country saw through it all. They saw the grift that it was and they said no. What was it, like 8 million more or something like, or 80 million, 81 million or something? What was it? More that whatever it was that voted for Biden. It's because people saw through the nonsense and they saw the lie that was happening. They saw the grift. They saw the criming. And they said, not in our name. Oh no, not in our name. And that's why this happened the way it did. Because we got tired of watching it. We got tired of knowing that is there any money left in the treasury? Is there? Have we looked? But you see, that's the stuff you end up having to think about when you've got criminals in a particular position. That's what happens. It's just what happens. So here's the 8 of Swords. Now, I think that what this is telling us, I tend to interpret this as don't get in the way of yourself. It can be that you've got a lot of, you're being attacked from all around you, verbally attacked, for example. Perceptions are looking at you like, are such that they don't see you for who you are. And it's almost like you're bound by either your own perceptions or someone else's perceptions. But here you see her, she's in a red gown, she's blindfolded, she's bound, she's barefoot, looks like she's barefooted, maybe not. Let me see, let me get a better look at that. She looks barefooted, I've always seen it that way. But no, I bet she's not, she's got red shoes on. But she's standing in red soppy sand, so clearly something violent is happening here. Either mental violence she's doing to herself, by the imprisoning herself in a particular set of beliefs. So I would say that we've got the 1, the 4, the 7, and the 8 here. I would say then that the 8 is what follows the 7 and probably gives us a little bit more information about what's really going on in the 7. That this is literally something where we are seeing something from a perspective that is just out there in Never Never Land, and it has nothing to do with reality, and it's keeping us imprisoned in a particular set of perceptions that are not useful to us, that will never bring us into balanced energy exchange with one another. So maybe what this reading is telling us is that we need a new way of thinking, a new way of seeing things, and having it come from spirit instead of from ego, and then maybe we can resolve this nonsense that has brought this country anyway, and maybe others in the world, to an extraordinarily dark place, where all that comes out of a government is lies. How does that not put people in that country in a dark place? Any country that deals with a dictator knows this. All right, it's very simple. You understand the cause and effect relationship between the two very easily. Well, I suggest that that's the same is true for here, for what's going on with the conspiracy nonsense. Obviously enough people didn't believe it and elected somebody else, so we can get out of that nonsense. But we're still in it in many ways. You've still got, instead of it going away, they're still finding ways to try to stay relevant. That's why you see the voter suppression laws that are being enacted in states around the country, so they can suppress people's voices, so that we don't have the ability to go and vote. Did you ever think that would happen here, of all places? And yet here we are, and we have to deal with it. We don't deal with it by keeping our heads in the clouds and believing stuff and nonsense that's just that. We don't imprison ourselves and our perceptions that way, so we can't get out of it. There's this woman that this one on Twitter, where she's not on Twitter, but this other Twitter handle is, and they go and they get these wacky conspiracy things people say, and they've been putting them up so we know what they're saying. And I mean, this woman is clearly off the deep end. She's gone down the rabbit hole. And she has grown children, so what happened? And yet she's clearly imprisoned by her own perceptions. I mean, she writes paragraphs and paragraphs expounding on all these things she believes, and they're nuts. Truly, nuts. It's all crazy. Again, all to get vulnerable people, some of whom have the best of intentions with what they believe, the concerns they have. They have the best of intentions. They drew them in through daily, all day long, this stuff, saturating them, brainwashing them, mind controlling them. And that's what happened. All to keep that guy in office? Really? Well, the time will come where people will understand that was such a fallacy and such a horrible thing, and it'll all resolve itself. But right now we're not there yet. It's going to take a shift in perception for that to happen, and one that basically draws down spirit into the whole awareness. I don't know how you get out of it otherwise. I think you stay bound by your own self, by your own choices, by your own thought processes. You keep your heads in the clouds. You don't see reality for what it is. So see, this is one of these times I'm going to interpret this card this way. A lot of the times I don't. See, usually I look at the Seven of Cups, and to me, it's you're dreaming new dreams. To me, if you don't do that, how does innovation happen? How do we get on new tracks? How do new things get developed? How does science progress? If you're not willing to take the leap of faith, which I view this as normally, but you pair it with this and this, I don't know. I'm thinking that it's exactly your head's in the clouds and you're not seeing things realistically. So allow that to happen so that you can come into a better harmony with other people, not just with yourself, but with others. And we can get on a shared path and get going. Move forward. Let this other stuff, let the Justice Department deal with all the people that need to go to prison. Let them do that. They're going to do that anyway. That's beginning now. And so let the rest of us now come back together, get on the same page, and go create something incredible together, you see. Shift in perception. I don't know. So anyway, think about it. Think about how this might apply in your life, and come back on Thursday and we'll see if what the cards and the runes say. I mean, we'll see if, we can build on this, or maybe we can see some progress with it or something. I mean, who knows? I sure would like to see that. I find all of this stuff troubling that I hear, and I see these people, what they say, but we'll see. We'll see. I think we can come back to truth. I think we can come back to reality. I just don't know how long it's going to take. That's all. So anyway, thanks for watching, you guys. Have a good few days. We'll see you again on Thursday, I hope. If you have not clicked subscribe here, do so. I would love it if you did. And come back. Esoteric Influences are on Sunday. We did that yesterday. The newsletter is out. You can sign up for that over on the blog, over on the left side panel up toward the top. All my links are below the video. So have a great day. And be good to yourself. Be good to one another. And blessed be.